Yes. All right, everyone. So the topic, are you ready to embrace change and ignite the extraordinary? That is the topic. The question I have for you is, are you ready for change? Are you someone who gets excited about change? Or are you that person who gets stuck in fear, anxiety, and need to know the end before you start? This conversation is for you. All right, so I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Suzanne Hart. Welcome, welcome. And I'm going to introduce this very special gentleman who is sitting beside me. So I'm going to read a few things so I get it right. He is an innovation strategist with 20 years of experience. He helps leaders empower their people with the mindset of innovation. So he is about helping people be empowered to embrace change. He is an official C-suite network advisor and a thought leader. Now, I had an opportunity to hang out with this gentleman in Dubai. Thought leader, highlight, underline it. He's a former Fortune 500 business process strategist for MetLife, but he's also an international corporate attorney. And he was with White and Chase?
Case, yep.
White and Case. Now, what I want to tell you about this gentleman is I had the privilege of hanging out with him for a week. I feel like I've known him forever now. I love his heart and I love his brilliance. He has a capacity to listen for what's not being said and also what's needed. So I'm going to pick his brain on behalf of each and every one of you. So please help me welcome Mr. Ray East.
It is wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me, Suzanne.
You know what? I am so excited because I think this conversation is so key. We're going to be talking about embracing change. We're going to be talking about innovation, and we're going to be talking about the secret sauce that in your business, that word that you dropped on the table in Dubai that I was like, ooh, I get this. I get this. So first of all, before we jump into the conversation, please let everybody know a little bit about yourself and how you arrived to where you are now.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm delighted to be here. My goodness, Suzanne was one of the participants in Dubai in a meeting that we were having that she just impressed me. And our fearless leader, Lethea Owens, who's just another one of those women who you meet and you will not soon forget her because of her brilliance. But Lethea told me about Suzanne, and then when I finally met Suzanne, I was just blown away. And I thought, but the next time I come back here next year, like Suzanne's going to have her own version of this, and it's going to be amazing. And I just feel very honored that you would want to collaborate with me on this. And you and I definitely have a lot of overlap in terms of our interests and passions and values. So I love being here.
Thank you.
To answer your question, I have been, let's see what to talk about. I've always had a heart for people who were visionary. You know, people who, like, a lot of times people, without realizing it, they focus up on what is. I always love the people who tend to emphasize what could be.
Okay.
People who are just, see something and instantly they're appreciating what's there and are being present to what the value that's in front of them, to be sure. But then they also go into this next stage of, what could we do? What is possible from here? And so that's part of the reason why I've respected and admired you and your work so much, because you are certainly the poster child for that. And so for me, I'm going to take you guys back, if it's okay, like to my childhood, because it kind of has a little bit of bearing on this.
Absolutely.
So I grew up in this town way back in the 1970s, where my family was we were the only people of color, or one of very few people of color in that town. And so when I got called the N-word at school and kicked and spit upon and out, and kids are the best recorders of information, but the worst interpreters of information. So I grew up with just struggling with super low self-esteem and feeling very marginalized, very out of, like, everybody in school, and so that was something that was the self-limiting mindset that I inherited from those experiences that I had. But I'm grateful for them, ironically, today, because it caused me to dig deeper in terms of asking, like, why do I have value? and how can I add value in this world? Because nobody else seems to think I have much value. So what would it look like for me? I never felt beholden to take the groupthink perspective on things because the group didn't want me. So I didn't want their perspective necessarily to start with. So it was something that started me just kind of always looking at things a little bit differently because I was different in my own eyes, at least. And as I kind of got to, after college, I started at MetLife in this incredible management development program. And something really miraculous happened. I had the opportunity to be a part of different teams. Every 6 months, I'd join a different group in a different place, different city, even sometimes over 2 years. And when you're starting up, and I think I was 22 years old.
Wow.
I had no, corporate leadership experience. I had no history with the organization to speak of. I had no, political alliance covering from this or that, like, how big organizations all are. And so it was just me, and I had kind of this, it felt like I had nothing, which meant I had everything. When you have zero.
Someone write that down. I had nothing, which meant I had everything. And that is good.
Thank you. Yeah. I wanted to make a difference, but I wanted to make a particular type of difference. I wanted to make a contribution that only I could make. I wanted to, I felt like, my creator made me to do something special on this earth. What could that look like? Given, I'm not beholden to any particular track or any particular background, or that they know me for this or they know me for that. I have, and it's something that I found later on in science is called 0-point energy. And this is something that Niels Bohr and Albert Einstein have written about. It's very, every physicist worth his or her salt knows about this stuff. But 0-point energy, we can think about it in terms of psychology. And, the story I use is that sometimes, like, what if somebody came home from work and completely out of the blue, their spouse just said to them, I want a divorce. At that point, that person who just came home from work would feel like they just got punched in the gut. Absolutely. And they would be experiencing 0-point energy. Okay. At that moment, they would not feel, they would forget their identity. They'd forget their roles that they play at work or at home. They wouldn't have a sense of title. They wouldn't have a sense of ego. It would just be like everything is gone. They have nothing. But when you have nothing, suddenly every possibility is okay to investigate. Suddenly the reasons why you didn't want to change before, the fear that you had of change is gone, and you're open. And so that 0-point energy, you don't need a calamity to make that happen. I had it at 22 just by being so fresh. I was so green. I was about to sprout back at MetLife at 22 years old. I had nothing, but I had 0-point energy going for me. And so I was able to think, outside the box, as the cliche goes, in a way that other executives didn't. And so just to start wrapping this up here, what happened is that I came up with a plan that nobody asked me to come up with, but I thought, what if we change this business process that we are working with here? And I drew up a white paper and I submitted it to my boss, and I said, hey, why don't we think about changing the way that we do our workflow this way? Because we can, bring down a turnaround time from 3 months down to 3 days if we just did things a little bit differently, cross-functionally, and use technology in this way. He loved the idea. He gave it to his boss, and before I knew it, 22 years old, I had like this incredible team of between 7 and 10 people in their 30s and 40s. These were all like directors, and like we put together a whole new way of doing business that was estimated to save between $2 to $3 million per year back in 1992 dollars. So that's just amazing that somebody could, because I walked into an organization at 22 and had 0-point energy and wonder, a very strategic sense of wonder, I was able to see things differently and actually, within about 9 months, create millions of dollars of value for a Fortune 500 company. And so what I like to tell the people who I coach, my executives, is if a 22-year-old can do that, anything is possible. You can do it too. You have corporate leadership experience. You have some political backing. You have these things going on in your organization. So that's why I ended up doing executive coaching and innovation strategizing with my customers and my clients. And it's been a blast because I just love visionary people who have this sense of 0 point energy going for them in their own minds, and they're not attached to what has been, and they can let go of the past in order to embrace something new for the future.
I love it. And your story is so similar to mine because I grew up small town, came to Canada when I was 5, got the crap beat out of me for like my first 3 years and didn't belong. And there's a blessing in that. And after a while you just stop trying to belong, right? And you kind of walk to your own beat. And it's interesting because I get that 0 point energy, because when I got my first job, it was a similar sort of thing. So naive. I'm just coming up with ideas, and everybody's thinking that won't work. And I was blessed. I just happened to have a supervisor, which I adore, and she would just give me the opportunity to try these. I was always bending the rules. I was always rewriting something. But out of that came change and transformation because, like you, I love wonder. And everyone, if you haven't noticed, that is the word that Ray dropped on the table, was to live from this place of wonder. And wonder is bigger than curiosity, isn't it?
Absolutely. Wonder to me is the precursor to curiosity.
Oh, can you talk? Let us know.
So a definition of wonder that I love is that wonder is a feeling of surprise mingled with admiration caused by something beautiful and unexpected.
Wow.
And it's an experience. It's a commingling of emotions that brings a fullness that overflows into curiosity and creativity and asking questions that you would not normally do from a different emotional state. And an example of this is I had a chance to go do a talk in St. Louis, and I was in my hotel room working early in the morning. Like I woke up, 5 o'clock because I need to get work on what my talk before the time, and it was dark outside or whatever. And I was tired. I was feeling grumpy. I think I was having some health issues that day or something like that. And it just was like, I do not want to really be, I'm so not ready to, but anyhow, I have to get this worked. And so I got into that kind of place where your intellect bullies your emotions into an outcome. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm just out of sheer force of will, this will happen. I'm going to be creative and write. And I realized being creative when you're like bullying your emotions is the worst idea under the sun. So what happened was that I started to notice a little light coming in from the hotel window because it was dark outside. And I looked and I saw it was the sun starting to peek up over the horizon. And because I'm familiar with how powerful wonder is as a precursor to creativity, I thought, you know what, let me just put this down, take just 2 minutes. And I walked over to the hotel, opened up the shades fully, and there was the most glorious sunrise just coming up. And as the sun was rising, I could feel literally a mixture of surprise and admiration just starting to fill my body. I could sense that. I became present to the beauty that was there. I got present to that, oh, there's something outside of me and it's beautiful. There's something beyond just this experience of a little pain in my body and a little sleepiness because I got up early and I don't want, and I started to, and before I knew it, I was like, let me just be grateful. And I started thinking, let me be grateful for this speaking opportunity today instead of being, so having a bad attitude about it. And let me start, and before I knew it, I was coming up with all sorts of ideas for the talk that I never would have had in that kind of foul state of mind that I was in just a few minutes prior. And and that's what wonder does for you. It puts you in a place where you are able to partner with creativity that is beyond what you're thinking about in that moment. So you can access something bigger when you allow yourself purposefully to be exposed to something beautiful and unexpected, triggering a sense of surprise and admiration inside of you.
So let's break this down for people that are watching. Anila says, bullying your emotions. Wow. So let's break this down, because before we came on, every week we do a quiz, and I ask people, what has people stop, like not do something, resist change or doing something new. And I got there, we put the survey, lack of confidence, not sure where to begin, lack of knowledge. And I really want to highlight that one, lack of knowledge, fear of disappointment and failing. And we had people like clicking on those. And then the one that I used to be is listening to others and becoming discouraged, right? Doing the pool of the people I shouldn't be asking. And they tell me, why are you doing that? So there's all these things. And we're in a time right now where, as you know, people feel upside down. There's fear, anxieties, there's lots of uncertainty. Things have become unpredictable. And so one of the things why I was so excited to have this conversation with you is, how do I get from how you were on the bed, I don't like this, I don't want to do this, I don't want this to be my life right now. I don't like I've been sent home. I don't want, like, all the I don't. So how do I get from there? And a lot of people are sitting there into a place of wonder, so that I can look into the future with that juicy curiosity that ignites me and pulls me forward. That's my big question for you.
Wow, what a beautiful question. And all of those questions, I can so relate to all of them. The one thing that comes to mind when I think of, like lack of confidence or lack of knowledge, like I don't know, or even as example you provided, people, talking to people who aren't going to encourage you in the direction of wonder and creativity and possibility. The one thing that kind of all of those things have, that I've learned to overcome those things, is to focus, to ask myself good questions.
Okay.
When I ask myself better questions, I end up having a better thought. And when I end up having a better thought, I end up having a better belief, and a better belief leads to a whole new life and different actions. So one of the things that comes to mind for me is when I'm like in that bed, or if I were to, lots of times because I told you, my childhood, I had a very low sense of self-worth. And the legacy of that are these questions which pop into my mind every now and then, which, am I good enough for this? Do I know enough for this? Can I, what so-and-so said, maybe I shouldn't do this. It feels a little unsafe for me to even try to help people in this way. All these things. What I've learned to do that really helps is to focus, ask myself the question, what is it that I don't know about what I am dreading? That's hugely inspirational.
Mm.
What don't I know that could really help me right now to be motivated? And just asking a question rather than us having a statement in my mind, right there, just changing that little period into a question mark opens up things. And I feel like, okay, I don't have to be the expert. I don't even have to have the answers. I just have to realize it's not a foregone conclusion that I'm going to stink at this presentation because I don't know enough, or that people are not going to reject me if I try that, or I'm never going to make money if I go into business trying to do, like, it's enough to ask a question and when you ask a good question that says, what is it I don't know, that could be inspirational and the answer is going to be different for everybody, but your intuition will take you to a powerful place at that point. For me, yeah, go ahead.
And so, and when we talk about asking questions, you're talking about, because there's two types of questions, right? So right now, there's a lot of why me questions. Why is the government doing it this way? Why? Like, there's those types of questions. And what you're saying is to ask a question that stimulates wonder.
Yes.
Right? So it could be that, one of the things, my favorite question is, what's amazing about this?
Yes.
What my other one, and I talked about last week, if this was perfect, what would be available to me? So I always ask myself, because I think that there's amazing in everything. So what's amazing about this? What's perfect about this moment? What's the opportunity available to me? If this is what it is, what could be brilliant in this moment? So you're talking those types of questions.
Completely. I love those questions. They're all really, really powerful. I'm trying to remember them for myself actually now. So they're powerful. And all of this is causing me to realize there's a little, saboteur also that comes in my mind, and I think all of our minds, something that kind of sabotages our ability to even ask those questions, which is, it sounds so funny to say out loud. So much of what goes on in our minds sounds funny when you have to confess it to somebody else. But there is this other thought that pops up sometimes which says, but I have a right to be angry, or I have a right to feel grumpy. It's been really hard, or I have a right to, in other words, like there's going to be some type of defending of the state of mind that's not optimal, and
It loves on that one. Yeah,
negativity.
absolutely.
And so we'd never even ask the question because we don't know. I have a right to feel that. And so, a good question, a statement that comes to mind, an idea that I try to remember when I have that kind of like kind of a very childish kind of attitude about things is, Ray, you don't have to be in a state of wonder or joy or gratitude. But if you're willing to receive it, you deserve to be in a state of gratitude and wonder, right? You deserve this. Something about that for me kind of wakes me up and goes, oh, yeah, I deserve to be. Yeah. So as opposed to defending what's not working, the thoughts that are not helpful in my head, I am now embracing something out of a sense of value and self-worth. And so people may need to, even before they get to those great, powerful questions that you and I were just talking about before, they need to first get to that place where we give ourselves permission to be brilliant and to be grateful and to be in wonder, so that we can ask these incredible questions.
It's interesting because I tell people I give myself permission to have my own personal pity party, right? And I do my pity party thing, and I walk around and I do what I gotta do. I gotta get it out. So I do my pity party thing. Why is this happening to me? This is not fair. Da 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 da. But one of the things I've learned, and I've done it with every team I've worked with. So if a staff person came in and they said, I said, you got 2 minutes, get it off your chest. Pity party. Yep, tell me what it is, who did wrong, who you pissed off at, just go. And they would go, and then they would kind of get it out of their system. And then I go, okay, you ready? And they'd be like, yeah, thank you. And I think sometimes we just need to vent and have it heard, because I remind people emotions are energy, and my pity party is a representation of my anger, frustration, all these things. So I gotta have my pity party. I gotta get it out. I gotta let that energy out of me, and then I'm ready.
I love it, and it's so important to have a moment to have a pity party, to grieve, to process, to whatever it is, because even though when I'm having negative, I call them negative emotions, so like they have some ingredients of that are worthwhile paying attention to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that day when I was feeling really, poorly in my health, and I was waking up and I was sleeping, it's not so much like I needed to justify, like I should be angry and depressed and not work, and I should that's not what was right. But what was right was, hey, something in me is saying this is actually really hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I needed to acknowledge that so that I could move on into the wonder. Wonder and beauty can coexist with hard and difficulty. Adversity, as we were talking about the other day, like in every adversity is opportunity. That's something that's huge for me. In the midst of the chaos is great beauty. And we're complex beings, and we can process things complex. So I love the idea of, have a pity party, but limit the time that you dwell in that place, so that you can then move on into the place where you are.
And I don't know if everybody got what you just said, right? Because sometimes we believe that I can't step into wonder or step into what's possible until this is gone. And an emotion, I call it, I like to call it living in the presence of your emotions. So an emotion can pop up and it doesn't have to go away. It's okay, I'm pissed off, but in the face of being pissed off, let me just step into wonder. It does, I think sometimes we diminish our right to have the emotion. But sometimes it's starting with the emotion still present, as you're saying, and having that duality occur. And it's often the shifting of your focus into wonder that'll gradually dissipate the charge of that emotion, right? So I wanted to stop and just make sure that everybody got that's such a gift. Like we can have them coexisting at the same time, and we can actually ping pong between the two and dance between the two, and that's okay.
I love it. Thank you for just elaborating on that, because it was worth elaborating on. Suzanne, would it be okay for me to talk about a dynamic that I'm seeing in the marketplace that might be?
Absolutely. That's why you're here.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'm starting to see with my clients and with in terms of even as companies and executives that I'm reading about in the news is that right now the businesses are undergoing incredible stress. The organizations are, I mean, all of us are, because of what's happened, and it has blindsided almost all of us. And right now people they're just trying to recover their business. They're just trying to get back to normal. Now is not the time when anybody has the energy or vision or foresight to be like, hey, let's innovate something new, for the most part, when it comes to organizations. But I think there is an opportunity for people who are visionary to actually start to innovate now. And this is why. And I think this is part of us coming out of the recession that the pandemic has caused. Jeffrey Hazlett has said before at the C-Suite Network just how we may not be doctors or nurses, but first responders in that way, but we do know business. So we are business first responders. Mm-hmm. We take part of being a solution, of bringing money back into our industries and into the economy and causing things to grow. And that's powerful. And so I take my role as a business first responder seriously. And so part of what I want to get out there is just simply within organizations, people who have been, and this may be true whether you have an organization with just like 3 people or you're part of a 300,000 person organization. Leaders who listen to shows like this, who are actually interested in having a mindset of possibilities and who are looking to improve things and innovate. We've always come up against the same exact impediments to change in organizations, because people are scared of change, or because some people have big egos and they get in the way, or they're, for whatever the reasons are. What's really powerful now is, if you think about it, our organizations have hired people based upon their predictability, because that's what in our past and the stability of the past, that's what made profits, happen. But right now, the unpredictability of the world around us is literally creating a tension with the predictability-oriented mindsets of our people. And it's to a breaking point. Some organizations literally have already broken and have declared bankruptcy because of that, because their people can't handle the fact that the landscape is changing so drastically, so quickly. And so I just want to say that in the midst of all the chaos, in the midst of just trying to recover business as normal, we can recover business as normal, but with an eye to emerging powerful and remaining powerful in the post-pandemic new economy. And here's how we can do it. It's with that concept that I brought up at the beginning of this of our session here, which is 0-point energy. Mm-hmm. All of the people who work for you and work with you, they are going through a moment of 0-point energy. 0-point energy happens, just as a reminder, when you are overwhelmed by extraordinary forced changes, and all of a sudden it's like somebody kicked you in the gut. It's like all of a sudden you have no identity and no self-limiting beliefs and no title that you're hiding behind, and all of a sudden you're open to change, because when you feel like you've got nothing, then you're open to everything.
Absolutely.
And so this is if you have a possibility mindset and you're a leader and you want to innovate, your people are actually open right now, because precisely they're at a place of 0-point energy to innovate. So go ahead and be bold, propose new things, be visionary, be creative, get lost in a state of wonder, and come up with some great ideas. Get your people lost in wonder. You have permission, even with the big crisis, with all these horrible things, to allow good things to coexist in there. You're allowed to bring in wonder and creativity and resourcefulness and inspiration, even though life is hard, even though there's been loss of life, there's been all sorts of different, issues going on in terms of economics and I get it. You're allowed to be part of the solution. And so don't be afraid to make bold proposals at this time, because we need you as a business first responder to take advantage of the 0 point energy and get people behind some ideas that can really produce some good.
This is so powerful because, when we are at this place that you're calling 0 point energy and we're in absolute overwhelm, and I love the way you put it, is that what's predictable is not working. That's really what we're noticing. And what's predictable may no longer be predictable. And it's in that place, if we're willing to go, okay, what's predictable is not working. So let's just throw ideas in the hat.
Yes.
Right? Let's just start brainstorming and think, and it's amazing. You bring me back to when I used to do crisis. And when you do crisis, at least every few weeks, you'll come to a case where nothing moves. And it's urgent and there's nothing moving, and you got to get an answer. And my team would come, and usually at first, as you said, egos, I'm right, right? That can't happen. This can't happen. And because they're being their predictable self, as you're saying. And one of the questions I used to ask them, and I learned to ask them, is, what if you're both right? What if you're both wrong? What if? So why don't we listen from the place of, let me truly hear your elaboration on what I think can't work, and let me truly hear your elaboration on what things can't work. And what would happen is, once they'd elaborate, they come up with a new idea. And then we'd be bantering around this new idea. Now they're in wonder of each other's ideas, and something new would birth. And then that would be the plan that would actually work. And it would be nothing like anyone's started, but it was just because it was the willingness to communicate, share, and not be that's not what I'm accustomed to. That's not the way I look at it. That sort of thing, and just let it out the door. Because at the end of the day, what we know is not working. So let's step outside of what we know. And I'm so glad you brought this up, because this was the reason I wanted you to come and chat with everyone, is because, what we know has just shifted. Everything that's predictable is no longer predictable. We feel like we can't rely on anything. And what I'm hearing you say is, given you can't rely on anything, be playful with it. Wonder about it.
I love it. Would it be okay if I asked you a question, Suzanne?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. The only reason I want to ask is because, all right, people, without playing around, this is not hyperbole or false flattery. This is an internationally known mindset master here. And so I'm like, it's just, it would feel like we wasted some value that we could have added here if I don't get your take on this topic that we're talking about here as well. I know from back in Dubai, even, we were talking about how you were thinking through some changes in terms of your own business and what you were going to be doing, and you were going to pivot, and you were adapting, all these things, innovation. Would you give a few takeaways as to maybe what helped you to make, you help other people to change their mindset all the time. How did you handle the changing of your own mindset when it came to your own business? Because I saw you do some huge changes. Well, they looked huge from the outside, at least. I don't know maybe what it felt like for you, but I just would love to hear, what are some of the things that you found really helpful as you kind of shifted things for yourself?
That's a great question. I think one is, because I come from crisis, I actually like change. So that I'm probably one of those odd people that I like change, and not that I like change, but I don't like change that's been pushed on me, which is kind of how we've all felt. Like, what just happened, right? but I like, to a certain extent, I like change. And so, and for me, wonder happens through communication for me. So I call the people in my world that are equally going to engage in wonder with me. And I didn't know that's what I was doing. So of course I picked up the phone with Lethea and we started brainstorming just possibilities. What could we do? What did the marketplace? How are we going to do this? And we just started brainstorming ideas around what was possible. Then I picked up the phone with Taria and we started brainstorming. And we were brainstorming for each other, but we were brainstorming. Then I called other people. And then once I had enough brainstorming going on, I kind of said, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And I think the other part, Ray, is I remind myself that in these moments, faith is the most important thing I've got. So it is, I don't know the next step, but I know my first step. Right? So my first step was to call people and say, this is what I'm doing. I think you should come with me. And people were like, okay. And I presented my case as to why we needed to go here. And people started saying yes, right? So for me, it was everybody who touched my world, my people who did my marketing. It was, how do we shift this? The people who did, Lethea does my branding and she does a lot of my business strategy. So it was getting on the phone and going, okay, let's just brainstorm. Because I know that one of the things I know is like when we sit down, even in the time we had, just the synergy between two open-minded people, you're going to leave me with more, right? And you're also going to push me, because when I sat down, or Ray had our let's lean up around against the wall and chat moment in Dubai, you you asked me 3 questions and gave me one idea. And because I was open, and I want people to get that, open, I was open, I went back to my room and took some time to brainstorm the idea. And then by the time I got back into the room in the morning, I was vibrating with excitement. So I think it is, I have learned that by myself, I'm not very innovative. But in communication with people who are brilliant, and I mean brilliant in the sense that they are open-minded and creative, I will get more. So I will tend to get on the phone and do that so that they stretch and expand me, and then they leave me in that stretch and expanded space. Now, if you've been stretched and expanded, you either have to deny what you've just learned, or you move with it. And so I think the other thing I've learned is when I'm afraid, I'm right on track.
Wow.
Right? That is usually my sign. If I'm afraid, I'm right on track. I'm going to step into innovation, because that means I don't know enough and I got to go figure it out. And that's usually when I'm beyond what's comfortable. I'm right on track. I hope that answers.
And how? Wow, that is fantastic. A phrasing of a principle that I could just, in my own mind, the way I categorize things, I like just having something, a title on the top of this, the concept you introduced. But the principle is collaboration multiplies the opportunities that are available to you.
Mm-hmm.
Collaboration multiplies opportunities. You had some opportunities thinking things through for yourself, but you involved Lydia, you involved Turia, you involved, and before you knew it, out of the multiplicity of opportunities that and potential pathways and directions you could take, you felt empowered then and were able to use your core values and to choose the pathway that was most aligned with that, and the market needs perhaps as well, to be able to marry between your values and what the market values, so that you really could get to that sweet spot. That's amazing. But yeah, collaboration and fearlessness, and your ability to it's not even fearlessness. It's more just about embracing the fear as an indicator that I'm actually successfully stepping beyond my comfort zone, which is where all the good stuff is.
And whereas everything that's like exciting, I think the other thing, and I get it every time I get on the phone with you, I get it every time I get on the phone with Lethea, is the energy, right? Because we engage in a banter, and the banter energizes. I can speak for myself. It energizes me, and I'm trusting it energizes you. So even if I get on the phone with an idea and I'm not quite there yet, and I'm not certain, or I'm in wonder, but I'm not trusting my wonder, for lack of a better word, right? And I'm not trusting or clear on the direction I'm going. By the time we exchange energy a few times, I'm going from here to, like, I get off the phone with Ray and I'm up here. If I, you know what I mean? I'm like, who needs a plane? I'm good, right? And so for me, it's having the people in my life that will take this idea and help me simmer it, so that by the time I hang up with them, my idea's here. I know I'm going to trust that they're going to tell me my blind spots, which you always do. I'm trusting that they're going to tell me where to look and what to look out for, or where to go. And I have those key people. Brent Simpson is he's brilliant. So when I get on the phone with him, particularly when I'm in wonder and I'm stuck, I will ask him a question, and it's like, oh, really? Could you not at least made it look difficult?
I love it. Suzanne, you're like, what I see as the best practice that you're doing is that you are insisting upon wonder, and you're using collaboration with others as a primary way to make wonder happen, so that the possibilities and the creativity start to emerge. And another thing, we can do that same, we can practice that best practice with collaboration, but even with, like, for instance, sometimes I'm in a meeting and I'm with somebody who's boring me to tears, and I'm thinking about gnawing off my leg at the moment, but like I have to smile and kind of, but at those moments when I catch myself there, I say, Ray, why don't you just insist upon wonder? So I'll just ask myself a fun question in the moment, like, what is it that I don't know about this person that could possibly provoke surprise and wonder in me?
Mm-hmm.
Surprise and admiration. Like, what is it I don't know? What is it that I can, let me just make up a little story about how they are, what their family life is like. Maybe I see a lot of integrity at work from this person. I bet you they have integrity with their family, and that's amazing. And like, we can always insist upon wonder with other people, in collaboration, by ourselves, just in our spirituality as well. Insist upon wonder. Don't do no dry toast for, in terms of going to church or your time alone. Insist upon wonder for your career. Like, hey, it should be fascinating. And if it's not, we can do something about that. It's not like we're just handcuffed, and have to go.
And this is such a gift for right now, because what I'm hearing you say is that life can feel like the dry toast right now. Life can feel like the presenter whose voice is like nails, nails on a chalkboard, and you're wondering, like, why am I sitting through this? And what you're saying is, rather than get caught up in what you don't like about whatever it is to really go beyond that and say, well, what's amazing about this person, this moment, this thing, and what can I do with what's amazing?
Precisely.
Right. And I love it because it's such a simple thing. It costs us nothing. We can all do it, and the possibilities that become available is limitless. And I imagine, one of the things, I'm speaking at a networking group on Tuesday, and I've been reaching out to them because I really think that this is a time for business owners to come together, and rather than not network, but to come together for this moment, for this thing, is let's brainstorm. Let's and so, in your words, let's sit and wonder about what can be done. And it's such, and it cost us all nothing. And you won't walk away less.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. You can't have a moment of where you're truly in that optimal place of just being lost in admiration and being surprised at the possibilities that are out there, and come away with less. You will always walk away with more.
Wow. This has been so good. Okay, so I'm full. I don't know. It's all about me right now. I'm full. So let me check and see what people are saying. Someone's like, when I'm afraid, I'm right on track. Yeah, baby. They're talking about the energy exchange. Oh, hello, Dawn Jordan, welcome. Taria says, yes, that's my big learn this period. Step outside of what I know and normally do. That is good. Anila is saying, be part of the solution. Such an important factor to keep in mind, even in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
And then I'm seeing lots of love and hearts for you there, Ray. Oh, this is amazing. So if you were to leave everybody with an anchor, I know you're, an anchored phrase, something that could bring them back to this conversation as they go through, the moments that are going to feel so unpredictable and so filled with certainty. And what could be something that you can leave them with to bring them back to this and bring them back to, ooh, let me step into wonder right now.
Yeah, great question. As we go through the next days and weeks, things are starting to look like they're getting better. But even if there were some, not so much fun surprises as we go through, remember that I think that the two things to remember from this conversation, the big takeaways are, remember that having 0 point energy is a blessing, because it means everything is possible. And then number two, remember you deserve to be creative and resourceful and whole by stepping into a place of wonder. You're worth that. So use the advice that we've given in terms of collaborating with others, in terms of asking yourself more powerful questions instead of just coming to dead-end thoughts, all that thing. So, 0 point energy, like when I was 22 years old and I had nothing, I had everything then. And because I had a sense of wonder about things. So you can always claim 0 point energy and claim wonder, and you will innovate your way to your next level.
Wow, that is so good. Those are such great parting words. Ray, Mr. Ray East, where can people find you? How can they get in touch with you? For everyone listening, the word is mastermind. If you type mastermind in the comments section, we will make sure to ensure that you get Ray's info. We'll also put whatever he tells us in the comments section. So where can they find you?
Yeah, thank you so much. If people want to find me, they can go to my website, and from there I have all my social media information there as well. If they want to follow me on social media, the website is my name, which is Ray, R-A-Y, and then East, EAST.com, rayeast.com.
Thank you. So everyone, we have been chatting and getting poured into by Mr. Ray East. Ray, we'll have to do this again. And I've been saying this so much lately because I've had just these beautiful guests. And Haley Patry was here last week and she talked about, exercising happiness as a choice and changing the, how you're viewing, how you get through this. And I was so excited you were next, because I thought if you change your trajectory and you're now seeing how amazing this could be, the next question is, what do I do with that? How do I step into this place called wonder? How do I innovate? And you delivered extraordinarily. So thank you so much. Blessing.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're gonna have you back. We're gonna have to come up with another topic because I'm gonna pick your brain. Because there's lots in there, lots in there. All right, everyone. This is Suzanne Hart. I have been sitting down with Mr. Ray East. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be back here next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay blessed. Take care.